What's going on, everybody? Sports culture, and today I got a seven-round mock draft for the Detroit Lions, and I'm pretty excited to make this one. As we know, this team last year went to the NFC Championship game and was winning for the majority of the game, and just with the full quarter's worth of play, would have been playing in the Super Bowl. And the question this offseason was, what is this team going to do? What acquisitions are they going to make to get better over the offseason and get over the hump? And they made some pretty damn good ones. Carlton Davis is one of the most underrated and best lockdown cornerbacks in all of football, and they got it from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to make the defensive secondary way better. And then they went out there and made one of my most favorite signings this offseason, and I don't know how the fuck we allowed this to happen. They already had a Lee McNeil, and they were already really good at stopping the run, but now they added DJ Reader, who's just a beast, and he's very good at stopping the run and very good at getting to the quarterback. So I expect this defense next year to be even more physical, it to be harder to run the football on them, and their secondary to be way better. And I'm pretty excited to make this mock draft. I think this team just needs a couple more pieces, and they can honestly go to the Super Bowl and win it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So here we are at pick 29, and there's three players I really want to look out. Kool-Aid McKinstry is definitely a player I see get mocked to the Lions a lot, and he would definitely solidify this cornerback room. I think him on the other side of Carlton Davis, and then Meek Robinson, at the slot position, and then Emmanuel Mosley being, the third or fourth, cornerback behind those guys is definitely a very solid cornerback room. We could definitely go there, but I do think there was a lot of good cornerbacks in the later rounds in this draft, and especially one guy that I think just fits this defensive scheme for the Detroit Lions. Jackson Powers-Johnson is someone I could definitely look at right here. Definitely not to play center. I think Frag Ragnall is going to be the center for at least 4 to 5 more years. He's very elite. But Graham Glosso was okay last year. He was average. Allowed a lot of pressures. Didn't allow that much sacks, but allowed a lot of pressures. I think it was over like 40 or something like that. So we could definitely upgrade. And Jackson Powers-Johnson might just be the best interior offensive lineman in this draft class. But the other guy I'm looking at right here for the Detroit Lions, just to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, is Chop Robinson. And I know he's definitely raw, and he only relies right now on his speed and getting outside, but he's only 21 years old. He has all the athletic traits you want from an edge rusher, and he's very good at using his hands, and he has some very raw power as well. So first I want to look at the Lions depth chart at the pass rush unit. Aiden Hutchinson, the first guy on this unit, very elite pass rusher. He's going to be one of the top guys in the league for the next 5 to 10 years. Then you got guys like DJ Reader, who's very good at getting to the quarterback and stopping the run. Lee McNeil, defensive tackle, nose tackle, very good at stopping the run, very physical. Love his violent hands up front. Only 23 years old. He's only going to get better at getting to the quarterback. Then you got guys like James Houston, who didn't play much last year, but I think when he's on the football field, he is a stud. And then Marcus Davenport, who they did pick up this offseason, I think he's a good rotational piece, nothing more than that. A very solid pickup. So this defense could definitely use another pass rusher. In the NFL, in this current age, you can't have enough pass rushers. And adding a guy like Chop Robinson next to guys like Aiden Hutchinson, James Robinson, DJ Reader, Lee McNeil, and Marcus Davenport, that's a scary pass rush unit. Now let's look at the cornerback position for the Detroit Lions. Carlton Davis is going to be cornerback 1 for this team. He's going to be the boundary lockdown cornerback for this team. Emmanuel Mosley, when on the football field, is very solid, and I think he's a very good cornerback. Meek Robinson, who they picked up this offseason, is just a dog, and I think he fits this defense very well. A very good cornerback, even though he's undersized. He just brings that dog mentality every play. I think this is a very solid cornerback room right now, but we could definitely add a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry and solidify this cornerback room. Obviously, you got guys like Brian Branch, who's very versatile. He plays slot cornerback as well, so we could definitely add a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry to just solidify this secondary in general. Now I want to look at the offensive line position for the Detroit Lions. More importantly, the interior. We could definitely address those areas. Kevin Zeiler is a very solid guard they picked up this offseason, but is 34 years old, so he's a ticking time bomb. We could definitely look, to improve there, get some guys that are younger, develop them for a year. Graham Glosso was okay last year, allowed a good amount of pressures, I think like over 40. Only allowed 2 sacks, which is solid, but allowed a good amount of pressures, and he's 31 years old, so we could definitely improve there. Taylor Decker was very solid last year. Did have a kind of a down year last year, you could say, but I still think Taylor Decker is very solid. Is 29 years old, so we could definitely maybe get another tackle in there to improve, and develop underneath him. And then Penei Sewell and then Frank Ragnall are the 2 most important guys on this O-line. So with this pick at pick 29, I made my decision. We could definitely go Kool-Aid McKinstry here and solidify this cornerback room for this Detroit Lions team. And I think he'd be the perfect corner on the other side of Carlton Davis, but I do think there are some really good other cornerbacks later on in this draft. I think there's a huge drop-off in terms of pass rushers after Chop Robinson. Guys like Braylon Trice and Jonah Alice, to me, are just more like rotational pass rushers, where I think Chop Robinson could actually be a number 1 pass rusher on one of these NFL teams. So with this pick, we are going to go Chop Robinson. Yes, he's a bit raw. Yes, he only relies on his speed and getting to the outside, but he's only 21 years old. He has all the athletic traits you want and the intangibles at a pass rusher. And I know there is some people that just love to simply just stat watch, and they're going to point out Chop Robinson not having that many sacks at the collegiate level. But I just encourage you guys to watch the tape on this guy. phenomenal tape. He causes so much disruption, and he's only going to get better. He's only 21 years old, and he has some traits that you simply can't teach, to some pass rushers. His speed, his quickness off the line, the way he gets outside is very elite. Once he learns how to use counter moves and get back inside, it's going to be over. Now, Chop Robinson is definitely a little undersized for the edge position at 6'3", 250 pounds, but he makes up with it with elite athleticism and great hand placement and great hand fighting. And like I said earlier, he's only 21 years old. He definitely could improve at the run defending, but I think, him only being 21 years old, the way he uses his hands, how quick he is off the line, he's only going to improve, especially with this defensive scheme that Detroit has and the guys that are around him on this D-line. And as it says right here, regardless of his lack of polish, Robinson is a gifted player athletically, likely on a level that is top of a class. A lot of what leaves you wanting more from Robinson is coaching, unlocking that key from him going a boom or bust athlete to a dominant edge defender. And here are the pros and cons for Chop Robinson. Naturally low and loaded stance, explodes off the front foot with consistency, elite first step explosiveness, and acceleration up the arc. And then here are the cons for Chop Robinson. Lack of length will likely be a consistent issue for him. Does not have an adequate amount of counters to get off blocks. That's definitely one thing I noticed. Shorter strides make for good explosiveness and early acceleration, but he doesn't cover a ton of ground when getting up the arc. Gets locked up when defending the run against tight ends too often. Hand usage / hand placement needs consistency. And then this year, Chop Robinson had a 92.3 pass rush grade, had a 76.9 run defense grade, and I still think he's improving in that aspect. Had a 93.1 true pass rush grade, had a 20.9 pass rush win rate. That is elite. That is the top of this class. Had a 5.9 run stop rate. Chop Robinson this year had a 90.9 PFF grade, played in 10 games, had 303 defensive snaps, 148 pass rush snaps, 140 run defense snaps, had 3 sacks, 5 hits, and 18 hurries. But in 2022, he had 5 sacks, 9 hits, and 34 hurries. So like I said earlier, very disruptive. Doesn't maybe get all the sacks didn't get all the sacks at the collegiate level, but he causes a lot of disruption up front. Very quick off the line. And I just suggest, for the people that are just stat watching, please go watch some film on Chop Robinson. It is very good film. Now, Chop Robinson does get drafted 18% by Lions fans whenever they mock draft. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend. And they really can't go wrong with the edge rusher or a cornerback in the first round, either a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry or Chop Robinson. But for this mock draft, I am going Chop Robinson. I just feel like he makes a way bigger impact on the other side of a guy like Aiden Hutchinson than a cornerback would like Kool-Aid McKinstry on the other side of Carlton Davis. So for this mock draft, we are going Chop Robinson. And I think we can make this pass rush unit very good. I think this team is already one of the most physical and one of the hardest to run on easily. But then you add in a guy like Chop Robinson, who's an elite pass rusher. Add him in with guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, James Houston, Ali McNeil, DJ Reader. I mean, this team is super scary, and they're going to be able to stop the run and get after the quarterback. So with this pick, we are going Chop Robinson, and I still think there's some really good cornerbacks later on in this draft class that we could definitely pick up for this team. So I just want to show this one quick play of Chop Robinson in action, and just look how fast he is off the ball. Just, dude, he gets off before the ball is hiked. I swear he does. Just look at it. Super quick. It kind of looks like he got off before the ball was hiked, but I mean, he just timed it super well. Super good at getting off the line, super fast, super explosive. Yes, he only, relies on getting outside right now, but I do think at the next level, once he learns, he is going to learn how to do counter moves, and once he learns how to do that, he will be a very good pass rusher. Like I said, though, on film, there is flashes of him showing that raw strength. Watch him right here. Use his speed to get off the ball, but then simply push back 71, right back into the quarterback McCord right here. Just watch this right here. Watch him get off the line, dude. He's super fast. That's why he's one of my most intriguing prospects in this year's draft class. He's just one of the quickest off the line in this year's draft class in terms of pass rushers. So this is the last play I'm going to show real quick of Chop Robinson. Like I said, he has really good hand placement, hand fighting off the line. He's just very quick. He doesn't get all the sacks in the world, but these are just the plays that don't show up in the box score that you really do like a lot. This is what gets the defense off the field on third down, all that. So this is right here a phenomenal play. So we traded back with the Atlanta Falcons, and just hear me out. I think from the 74 to like 79 range, there's some really good players. So we're just going to add another pick from that range. We're trading away pick 61, in return we got pick 74, 109, and 143. So honestly, a really good trade back to move back 13 spots. And I think there's some really good players from that range that we could definitely pick up on. So at pick 73, as I'm editing this video, I didn't realize that I didn't record that pick. But at that pick, we did go Javon Baker. And I don't think this Detroit Lions team is in desperate need of a wide receiver, but they could definitely add another guy in that room. Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously, is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But outside of that, there was a lot of question marks. Jameson Williams has a lot of potential, but he doesn't really display that on a game-to-game basis. And then outside of that, there's a lot of question marks, a lot of average wide receivers. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who they brought back this year, who is only 25 years old. He could definitely be a big piece of this offense, but I don't think he's that great. I think he's a really good 50-50 ball winner, but that's about it. Khalif Raymond's a really good, down-the-field stretcher, really, really good blazing speed. And then they brought in Traquan Smith this offseason, but outside of that, outside of the two top guys, Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, there is a lot of question marks. And so at pick 73, I did add Javon Baker, who I think has first-round talents as a wide receiver. And I think adding a guy who has an elite skill set like Javon Baker, who's very good all around. Javon Baker is very good off the line. He has a lot of good releases. He's a route-savvy wide receiver. He understands how to use leverage and stack DBs. He's very good at using his hands when it comes to catching. And he can go up there and high point the football and come down with it. And he has elite high weight ratio at 6'1", 208 pounds. I just think adding a guy like Javon Baker, who has that elite skill set at the wide receiver position, next to guys like Jamison Williams, who's a really good, down the field burner, and then adding him with the Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's just good all around. I think that could be one of the youngest and one of the most explosive trio wide receivers in the league. So at pick 73, we did go Javon Baker. And as I said earlier, I don't think this team is in desperate need of wide receiver help. But pick 73 to me was more of a luxury pick. And so I just went with wide receiver. And I think a guy like Javon Baker makes this team super, super dynamic and explosive. So I just want to highlight this one play by Javon Baker. And like I said earlier, he has very, very good hands. Well, watch this play right here. I think this guy with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams would be a phenomenal wide receiver trio. Phenomenal catch right there. Great way to keep your eyes on the football and track it over your shoulder, and then just make it a great adjustment on it right here. Watch it again from this angle. Phenomenal catch. Okay, I really did lie. I'll show one more play because I just really have a fun time watching this film whenever I do come across it again. Watch this catch right here, man. This is why I compare to guys like Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is very good at using his hands when high pointing the football and coming down with it. Look at that right there. That looks like Stephon Diggs. All right, this is really the last play. And as a wide receiver, he has really good stop-and-go ability. Watch this play right here. He's going to be running a curl. So here we are, pick 74 for the Lions. And with this pick, I'm going to add another cornerback to the room. And I think Ronaldo Green has to be the pick right here. This guy is very, very good. He's a lockdown cornerback. And he held Malik Neighbors this year to 2 catches, 20 yards, and had an interception against him. And in this year, man coverage, he was one of the best man coverage cornerbacks in all of college football. Now, Ronaldo Green is listed at 6', 186 pounds, and is 23 years old. And the reason I'm really high on Ronaldo Green is because I love his technique and the poise he plays with. At the cornerback position, you got to have a lot of poise. You got to be a very smart player. And Ronaldo Green is a very smart player. He's very good at mirroring wide receivers, and he's very disciplined and patient in man coverage and man press. Now, Ronaldo Green this year had an 86.4 coverage grade, had a 61.8 run defense grade, and I know that seems pretty low, but on film, he actually is a very willing tackler. Just being at 186 pounds, it's not that easy at shedding blocks for him. He had a 51.7 completion percentage, had a 90.0 man coverage grade. Like I said, this year and last year, he was one of the best man coverage cornerbacks in all of college football, and had a 68.1 zone coverage grade. Now, Green this year allowed 31 receptions on 60 targets, 290 yards for 3 touchdowns to 1 interception, and a pass rating of 75. I know those numbers don't look too good, but the reason I really do like this guy a lot is because what he displayed against the LSU wide receivers, Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I'm telling you guys right now, he put both those guys in jail. Now, Ronaldo Green this year had 16 forced completions, and I really do like the way this guy plays the ball. He's not going to give you all the interceptions of the world. He's not really a ball hawk like that, but he's very good at drawing the football loose last second from wide receivers. He had 7 coverage stops, 6 missed tackles, and an average depth at target of 11.0. So I picked 74. We are going cornerback, and that is Ronaldo Green, the cornerback out of FSU. And we get to definitely win Kyree Jackson, the cornerback out of Oregon, who's a little bit taller and a little bit more physical in terms of press. But I think Ronaldo Green, the thing that makes him so good is his poise and his smartness at the cornerback position. And I think he's going to be super good in man coverage at the next level. So I just want to show a couple plays from Ronaldo Green when he was playing against Malik Neighbors. And like I said, Ronaldo Green is a very good man press cornerback. He's very good at mirroring defenders. And he put Malik Neighbors in jail this game. And I think he allowed 2 catches for 20 yards on 6 targets. So very, very good to see against one of the best wide receivers in this year's draft class. This is a great play right here. Great way to mirror him and stay with him and stay patient. Great way to draw the football out. And then this is one of my favorite plays when they matched up against each other. Watch him mirror Malik Neighbors so well right here. And watch him still be very physical and almost push Malik Neighbors out of bounds right here. I mean, he's just super physical while being able to stay on him and stay disciplined the whole time. So this is the last play I'm going to show of Ronaldo Green versus Malik Neighbors. And again, it's just going to showcase how good he is in trail techniques, how good he is at mirroring wide receivers' movements, and how disciplined and patient he is as a cornerback. Watch this route right here that Malik Neighbors is running, and watch Ronaldo Green just simply stay on it the whole time. This is a route that some of the best and most elite wide receivers in the NFL run against, some of the best cornerbacks and simply win against. So here we are at pick 109 for the Detroit Lions, and I actually tried trading up to get Cooper Beebe, who I think just fits this team very, very well. He's a very good pass blocker, very solid run blocker, and he can play all over this, offensive line for this team. But with this pick, we're going to get Hunter Norzad, the center out of Penn State, who I also think at the next level could play guard. I think actually he is more profiled as a guard at the next level, and he would actually be better as a guard. Now, Hunter is listed at 6'3", 315 pounds, and is 24 years old, so he is definitely an older prospect. But he could definitely develop for a year still. Graham Glasso last year for the Lions team was okay. He wasn't nothing special. And I think Hunter Norzak could actually go in there and compete with him for that starting guard position. Now, Hunter this year had a 77.0 run block grade, and that's one of my favorite things about him. I love his physicality and his demeanor that he plays with when it comes to run blocking. He had a 61.9 pass block grade. He could definitely improve in terms of pass blocking. He had a 79.2 zone grade, had a 66.4 gap grade, and had a 52.1 true pass set pass block grade. Now, Hunter this year had a 74.4 PFF grade, played in 13 games, had 785 offensive snaps, 365 run block snaps, 416 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, which is very good, 5 hits, and 11 hurries. Now, Hunter this year played 784 snaps at the center position, and I know I said earlier he's more profiled as a guard at the next level, which I really do believe, but this year he was fairly solid at center, so he does have that versatility at the next level to play center or the guard position. But in 2021, he did play 458 snaps at right tackle. I don't think he'd be a tackle at the next level, but I do think he'd be a very solid guard or center. Now, Hunter Norzad does get drafted 12% by Lions fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend, and I think he's fairly solid. Like I said earlier, I love his physicality and demeanor he plays with when it comes to run blocking, and I think he does fit this offensive threshold for this Detroit Lions team. So with this pick, I pick 109. We are going Hunter Norzad, the center or guard from Penn State. So here we are picking 143 for the Detroit Lions. I think this team can honestly still use another safety. Brian Branch is honestly becoming one of the best safeties in the NFL, and he's very versatile. But one player I would love to see on this team is Malik Mustafa, the safety out of Wake Forest. He comes with that old school, physicality and demeanor at the safety position. He's a tone-settling tackler, and I just think him next to Brian Branch could be a very dynamic safety duo. Both guys are very physical. Both guys could go sideline to sideline, and both guys are fairly good in coverage. Now, Malik Mustafa is listed at 5'11", 207 pounds, and he's only 21 years old, so this guy is only going to get better. He's super, super young. And as it says right here, Mustafa is a throwback tone settler over the middle of the field. His measurements and mentality are reminiscent of Bob Sanders. Unfortunately, he does not have the plus athletic ability, specifically fluidity and top speed of Sanders. And as it says right here, he does his best work coming from a two-deep shout, a safety shout, where he can keep the play in front of him and fire downhill when needed. He is an all-out blitzer even from a deep safety spot. His shoulder arms can cause problems when wrapping up tackles, but when he hits players, they feel it. Now, here are the pros and cons for Malik Mustafa. Will hit with everything he's got. I just think him next to Brian Branch is a very physical safety duo. Mentality for physical play stands out in run defense, blitzing, and coverage. Can't play fast, yet decently in control when coming downhill from depth. Now, here are the cons for Malik Mustafa. Desire for hit power leads to missed tackles at times. Shorter arms affect tackling ability, especially when flying in high speeds. Side shuffles to retreat deep, likely to avoid backpedaling and turning his hips. Now, Malik Mustafa this year had a 72.1 coverage grade, had an 87.5 run defense grade. Like I said, this guy is very good at tackling people, and he's very physical, and I love his demeanor. A 12.4 missed tackle rate, a 10.3 forced completion rate, and a 4.5 average depth of run tackle. Now, Malik Mustafa this year had a 79.6 PFF grade, played in 12 games, had 670 defensive snaps, 29 pass rush snaps, 329 run defense snaps, 314 coverage snaps, 62 tackles, 16 assisted tackles, and only 11 missed. Now, Mustafa this year also had 5 coverage stops, 21 run stops, 15 receptions on 29 targets, a 79.0 pass rating allowed, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, and 3 forced incompletions. Now, Malik Mustafa as a safety has a ton of versatility. This guy played 144 snaps at the slot, 327 in the box, and 163 back deep. And obviously, he's not as versatile or as good in coverage as Brian Branch, but I just think these two next to each other complement each other super, super well. I just think his physicality and his demeanor next to a guy like Brian Branch, who has the same demeanor, that dog mentality, I think that's a very good safety duo. Now, Brian Branch does get drafted 8% by Lions fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend. And like I said earlier, I just think of Malik Mustafa, a guy that's very physical and plays with a great demeanor at the safety position, next to a guy like Brian Branch, who's one of my favorite safeties in the NFL. Another guy that plays with that dog mentality, plays with so much physicality and a great demeanor. I just think Malik Mustafa, next to a guy like Brian Branch, could be one of the most physical and one of the most imposing safety duos in the NFL. So with this pick, we are going to go with Malik Mustafa, the safety out of Wake Forest. So here we are, 164 for the Detroit Lions. And obviously, I want to get more line depth, especially in the interior for this team, but there's not really that many good prospects at the top of the board right now, and I don't really want to make a reach out there for one of these guys. So with this pick, it's more of a luxury pick, and I'm going to go with Javonte Jean-Baptiste, the edge for Notre Dame. I think this guy is very good. He's very underrated. Now, Javonte is listed at 6'4", 260 pounds, and is 23 years old, basically 24 years old. And I know I drafted Chop Robinson with my first pick in this mock draft, but in this NFL age today, you can't have enough pass rushers. And I think Javonte Jean-Baptiste could be a better rotational piece than a guy like Marcus Davenport, who you guys picked up this offseason. Now, Javonte this year had a 74.9 pass rush grade, had an 85.4 run defense grade, which is one of the reasons why I do like him for this team. He's very physical and very good at setting the edge and very good at stopping the run. Had a 69.3 true pass set pass rush grade. Had a 12.9 pass rush win rate, so he does show flashes at getting to the quarterback. And had a 9.9 run stop rate, basically a 10%, which is very, very good. Now, Javonte this year had an 82.5 PFF grade, played in 13 games, had 527 defensive snaps, 306 pass rush snaps, 217 run defense snaps, 6 sacks, 10 hits, and 22 hurries, along with 22 batted passes. So very, very good year from him this year. Very productive. Now, Javonte does get drafted 10% by Lions fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend. And I know I drafted Chop Robinson with my first pick earlier, but like I said right now, this is more of a luxury pick. And I think Javonte Jean-Baptiste could be a better rotational piece than a guy like Marcus Davenport. So with this pick, we are going Javonte Jean-Baptiste. So here we are, pick 201. And truth be told, dude, I tried trading up so many times with the Rams right here at 196 to actually go up and get Javion Cohen, who they ended up picking at 196. But they wanted me to trade away picks 201, 205, and 249 just to trade up 5 spots. So I wasn't going to do that. And so they ended up going with Javion Cohen, which does suck. So now at this pick, we could look at more interior offensive line depth, which is definitely a big need still. Could get another tackle maybe. But with this pick, man, this is such great value. Dwight McGlothern, in my opinion, is such a good cornerback. He has the size and length you want from a cornerback at the NFL level. And one player comparison I would give him is Rasul Douglas. This guy is very good in zone coverage, and has shown a lot on film and man coverage as well. Now, Dwight McGlothern is listed at 6'1", 188 pounds, and is 22 years old. Has the size and length you want from the cornerback position. He has fairly long arms as well, and is 22 years old, so he has a lot of time to develop. Now, Dwight this year had a 91.8 coverage grade, had a 65.4 run defense grade, had a 48.0 completion percentage, had an 80.3 man coverage grade. Like I said, on film, he flashes a lot in man coverage, though, and had a 90.4 zone coverage grade. Now, Dwight McGlothern this year had a 91.3 PFF grade, only played in 9 games, had 382 defensive snaps, 203 coverage snaps, 12 receptions on 25 targets, allowed only 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 51.2. Now, Dwight McGlothern does get drafted 15% by Lions fans whenever they create mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend. And I know I drafted Ronaldo Green a couple picks back, but I think what we're getting with Dwight McGlothern at, this is insane value, and I could simply not pass up on him. I think he fits this defensive scheme super, super well for this Detroit Lions team. I just think he has great size and great length. Only 22 years old. Is very good at man coverage, but very good in zone coverage. I just think this is a great value pick at 201. So here we are, pick 205 for the Lions. And with these last 2 picks in this mock draft, I just want to get depth on the offensive line. And with this pick, we're going to go Jalen Sundell. He's one of my more favorite tackles in the later rounds. I think he's very good at pass blocking. His biggest knock is that he played at North Dakota State, but he's very good in terms of pass blocking, very solid against the run, and I think he has the versatility to play all over the offensive line. Now, Jalen Sundell is listed at 6'5", 300 pounds, and is 24 years old. He is an older prospect, and he is light in terms of weight at 300 pounds, but he's fairly athletic, and he has good hand usage for offensive tackle. Now, Jalen Sundell this year had a 78.0 run block grade, had an 89.2 pass block grade, had a 77.9 zone grade, had a 74.0 gap grade, and an 89.7 true pass set pass block grade. Now, Jalen this year had an 82.9 PFF grade, played in 15 games, had 878 offensive snaps, 471 run block snaps, 406 pass block snaps, allowed 1 sack, 0 hits, and 8 hurries. So I picked 205. Like I said, we are going Jalen Sundell. I don't think there's that many good offensive tackles on the board or just offensive linemen in general. And Jalen Sundell is a very good pass blocker, a very solid run blocker who has great size. He is underweight at 300 pounds, but he has the versatility to play all over the offensive line. And this pick isn't a guy to be a starter. He's just a guy to be a good depth piece for this offensive line for the Detroit Lions. Guys always get banged up. Guys always get rolled up on the O-line. You need guys that could come in and play valuable snaps for you. And I think Jalen Sundell in the later rounds could be one of those guys for this team. So here we are with our last pick in this mock draft. And with this pick, I just want to get more depth on the interior line. And that is Layden Robinson, the guard out of Texas A&M. I think he is fairly solid as well. Now, Layden Robinson is listed at 6'4", 315 pounds, and is 22 years old, so he's a fairly young prospect as well. And Layden this year had a 69.4 run block grade, had a 61.2 pass block grade. He could definitely improve in terms of pass blocking. had a 74.2 zone grade, had a 57.0 gap grade, and had a 53.5 true pass set pass block grade. Now, Layden Robinson this year had a 65.7 PFF grade, played in 11 games, had 690 offensive snaps, 289 run block snaps, and 401 pass block snaps, allowed 1 sack, 5 hits, and 10 hurries. Now, Layden Robinson does get drafted 19% by Lions fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend. And this is just good depth, especially with our last pick in this mock draft. I think he's a fairly solid run blocker. Could definitely improve in all the other aspects, though. But I just think he's a good depth piece for this team. So here's what PFF has graded my mock draft. And right off the bat, they're telling me I should have drafted Khalil McKinstry over Chop Robinson. And like I said earlier, I don't think the Lions could go wrong with getting an edge rusher or a cornerback with the first pick. Just in this mock draft, I did go Chop Robinson. I feel like he makes a bigger impact, especially on the other side of a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like this team would be very, very good with the speed rusher like Chop Robinson. Got a B+ right there. Like I said earlier when I picked Chop Robinson, I just think him next to guys like Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Marcus Davenport, Ali McNeil, DJ Reader. I think this defensive line and just this pass rush unit in general could be very, very good with the guy like Chop Robinson. Then at pick 73, we did go Javon Baker. And like I said when I drafted him, I don't think this team is in desperate need of wide receiver help, but it wouldn't hurt to add. I think Javon Baker with guys like Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown could be one of the best wide receiver trios in the NFL. It could be one of the most exciting and the most explosive. And all them guys are super young, so they could all develop and get better over time. Javon Baker is one of my favorite wide receivers in this year's draft class. I think he has first-round talent and elite skill set at the wide receiver position. Got a C+ right there. Can't complain. I think that's a very good pickup for this team. Then at pick 74, we did go Ronaldo Green, the cornerback out of FSU. And I just think this guy is going to be very good at the next level. He showcased a lot against the LSU wide receivers and Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. And he put both of those guys in jail. I think he's very good at mirroring wide receivers. He's very patient, very disciplined, impressed man. And I think he's going to be very good in man coverage. Got a C+ right there. I think that's a very good pickup for this team. He's very good at locking down wide receiver ones. Then at pick 109, we did go Hunter Norzad. And I think this is a very good pickup for this O-line. He has that versatility to play the center or guard position. I love his run blocking ability. I love his physicality and his demeanor. And I just think he fits this team really, really well. Got a C+ right there. I think that's a very good pickup for this team. Then at 143, we did go Malik Mustafa, the safety out of Wake Forest. And I just think he fits this defensive scheme super, super well. Got a C+ right there. I think that's a phenomenal pickup. Then at 164, we did go Javonte Jean-Baptiste, the edge out of Notre Dame. I think this guy is very, very good all around. Very good at stopping the run. Very good at getting to the quarterback. Had a lot of pressures and hurries last year. Maybe didn't have all the sacks in the world. But the one thing I do like about Javonte Jean-Baptiste as an edge, he's very disciplined and he knows how to keep the edge. So that is one of the most important things as an edge rusher, containing the edge. And Javonte Jean-Baptiste does it very well. Got an A- right there. I think this is a great pickup for this team. Then at 201, we did go Dwight McGlothern and we got an A- right there. I think Dwight McGlothern fits this team very, very well. And this was just a steal right here. He's on PFF Big Board, I guess, at 200 now. But his average draft position was at 174 when we picked him up. So to get him at 201 when his average draft position is 174 is phenomenal. We did get an A-. I think that's a very solid grade. Then at pick 205, I did go Jalen Sundell. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did kind of panic at this pick right here. We did miss out on Javion Cohen, the guard from Miami, who I was trying to trade up for. So I did panic and I just went offensive line depth for this team. And Jalen Sundell is a guy who's very versatile. Maybe doesn't fit this offensive scheme right now, but he's very versatile on the offensive line. He can play all over the field. Got a D right there. I can't complain. Then at 249, my last pick in this mock draft, I did go Layden Robinson, the guard out of Texas A&M. I think he's a fairly solid run blocker. Does need to improve in terms of pass blocking, but I think he's just a good depth piece for this team. Got a B+ right there. Can't complain. Now, the overall draft grade I got for this mock draft by PFF was a B, and I think this is a fairly solid mock draft right here. I think this team gets a lot of good defensive players that could make huge impacts or could be huge bust. I think there was a lot of boom or bust players on this board right here. Chop Robinson could fall into that category. You guys like Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who's only had 1 full year of production at the collegiate level, so he could fall into that category. But outside of that, I think this is a fairly solid mock draft right here for the Detroit Lions. I think they get a lot of good players that could be really good for this team right off the bat. And like I said, this team last year went to the NFC Championship game and was just 1 full quarter's worth of play from going to the Super Bowl. So we got some players that are boom or bust players, you could say. But if these guys make the impact that I think they would for this team will be going to the Super Bowl. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. My 3 favorite picks, honestly, are Chop Robinson, Javon Baker, and Dwight McGlothern. I think all these 3 guys right here could be good for this team for many, many years. Javon Baker, I think him next to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, like I said earlier, could be a very, very explosive trio at the wide receiver position. So let me know what you guys think about this mock draft, who you would have drafted, who you would have drafted. It's been your boy Sports Culture. I'm out.